Welcome to a new episode of Africa Today. Today we're going to focus on the situation in Libya, where one of the two rival governments had announced that they are stepping down, and the announcement comes less than a week after the arrival in Tripoli of a UN-backed national unity government. Details on the phone report.
Libya's rival government has resigned, a step that helps efforts by a new UN-brokered unity government to assert itself in the capital Tripoli, despite opposition from some local militias. In a statement, the Tripoli-based National Salvation Government said it would cease duties as executive authority and therefore absolve itself of responsibility for the country's fate. Western nations viewed the new unity government as the best hope for ending Libya's chaos and uniting all the factions against an increasingly powerful Daesh affiliate, which has seized the central city of Sirte. Another government based in the eastern city of Tobruk still opposes the UN-brokered body. Libya has been dominated by an area of militias since the 2011 uprising that toppled and killed long-time dictator Muammar Gaddafi. The move came after the European Union slapped sanctions on 3 Libyan officials, including Prime Minister Khalifa Gouail of Daesh-backed government in Tripoli, for what it described as hindering the new unity government from beginning its work. The other sanctions are Aglia Saleh, parliament head in Tobruk, and Nouri Abu Sehman, who leads the outdated General National Congress. Earlier, the head of the new government, Faiz al-Sarraj, arrived in Tripoli by sea to set up a temporary seat of power in the naval base, despite threats from the competing factions which prevented him from arriving by air. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has welcomed Sarraj's arrival, as did the UN envoy to Libya, Martin Kobler, who was in Tripoli and said he received a warm welcome by a population tired of war. However, the US and its European allies hope the UN-backed government can unify the country and serve as an ally against the Daesh group.
Welcome back. And talks for providing support for the new unity government in Libya will be held next week in Vienna. The meeting will focus on international efforts to bring stability to Libya, where the two rival governments have vied for power since 2014. Details.
Italy's foreign minister said on Monday that talks on providing support for Libya's new unity government will be held in Vienna next week. The meeting will focus on international efforts to bring stability to Libya, where two rival governments have vied for power since 2014, opening the way for Daesh group to establish itself and gain ground in the North African state. According to Italy's regional foreign ministers will meet for the talks. He did not give details on who will attend, but past talks on Libya have included the United States and European officials and Libya's North African neighbors. Libyan Prime Minister Faiz al-Sarraj, UN-backed government of national accord, arrived in Tripoli a month ago, but it has faced resistance from hardliners in both the Libyan factions running rival governments. Regional foreign ministers and other important figures will be there. 5 years after the fall of Muammar Gaddafi, Western powers are backing Sarraj's government as the best solution to chaos in Libya. They are waiting for the request from Sarraj for military aid to help in the fight against the Daesh in Libya. Daesh group took up advantage of Libya's political turmoil to establish itself in Sirte last year. It controls a strip of coast about 250 kilometers long around the city, but it has struggled to hold ground elsewhere in the country. Western governments hope the UN-backed government will be able to unite Libya's armed factions to take on Daesh. However, efforts to counter the group has so far deepened on loosened alliances of armed brigades that supported the rival governments operating in Tripoli and the east.
And to shed more light on the situation in Libya, we are joined in the studio by Mr. Helmi El Hadidi, President of the ABSO organization. Hello, sir, and welcome to our show.
Hello.
Sir, what do you think of the stepping down of the rival government after the new unity government is arriving to Tripoli? How do you see this would affect the political situation on the ground?
I think this is a good step, because the problem in Libya was who has got the upper hand, who is governing, who is got the say in deciding what to be done and what not to be done. So with two governments you cannot function. If one steps, that's a very good step forward. But it doesn't solve the whole problems, because the other problems, who has got the power to order the army? Is it the parliament, or is it the government? Or is it the army itself? You know, there is a dispute there. Who can give the orders and who is to be obeyed? And this gives a chance to Daesh to strengthen its position and to make a stronghold there. So there must be unification of power, a system of or order to control who has the saying, who has the upper hand, and who has to obey and listen. This is a must.
Okay, sir, do you believe the new unity government will be able to understand all the challenges facing Libya, and especially are they aware of who has the upper hand in Libya so far, where they are the Daesh group?
As I said, it is a good step, but it doesn't solve the whole problems. The new government, the government supported by the UN, might find it difficult to deal with the House of People, the Parliament, and might find it definitely difficult to deal with the army, and therefore to deal with Daesh. So unless there is unification and a system that controls everything, in other words, there must be a real state there, which does not exist. And here I think Egypt has got a role to play. Mm-hmm. And they shouldn't keep their hands off. Libya is a neighboring country, and Daesh is there very strong. And we cannot really leave our western borders under the control of Daesh.
Sir, how do you see so far the UN role in Libya?
Well, so far it hasn't been very effective. So far it has been destructive to Libya. And whatever they do, I think, is just mending the broken pot.
Mm-hmm. So you see the UN is not effective enough,
no.
or not, but they are the ones who are supporting the new unity government.
Yes, well, they are the ones who chose it first, yeah, and the ones who supported it. But as I said, it is not only the government, it is the parliament, it is the army, it is the tribal people in Libya. I mean, there is a lot to be done. It's not just a government. It's not a prime minister. The problem is much more than that. Mm-hmm. And I think, as I said, we have to, in Egypt, should consider that and play a better role, a stronger role, a wider act in this particular thing.
Sir, from your own point of view and what's going on the ground in Libya, do you believe that this government will continue, or it's just a step and it will be followed by another government and another, and so on?
Most probably it won't stay for long, most probably. I hope they stay, but I don't think they will be able to. Mm-hmm. And it will be replaced by another government, and time will pass, and Daesh is getting a better hold and better, stronger footstep, and things would go from worse to worse.
Okay, talks on the situation in Libya and how to support the new unity government will be held in Vienna next week. And the international community are seeing the ways in order to give their support and back this new government. How do you see the importance of such talks?
Oh, well, I think it is again a waste of time. Mm-hmm. These talks, these meetings in Geneva or otherwise, has got no outcome, no favorable outcome in Syria. And the same would happen in Libya too. Mm-hmm. I'm not very optimistic about the situation in the Middle East anyway.
In the whole Middle East?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And is Libya and...
Libya, Syria, Yemen...
Syria are the indicators of this...
of my pessimism.
Do you believe it's a foreign plan in order to remap what they said the new Middle East?
They have that in mind, and I think they are really keen on doing it. And we are giving him the best chances. Mm-hmm. So, with them having that in mind, making up their mind to do it, and they are keen to do it, and facing no opposition and facing no stronghold, possibly except in Egypt. I think we are facing a future that is not very, very bright, I wouldn't say.
Sir, how do you believe that, how do you see that Egypt can play a role in Libya? Egypt has its own problems, and we are facing lots of problems nowadays. How can Egypt help another country now?
Libya, I wouldn't say it is another country. I'm talking of our western borders. I'm talking of Daesh that has got a stronghold in Libya. And it is part of our problem. It's not helping Libya, it is helping ourselves. Mm-hmm. We have to look upon it that way. Mm-hmm. You know, in medicine, we talk about prevention. And prevention is better than cure. If you take notice of that now and do your homework properly now, you might avoid a lot of problems in the future.
How do you see the role of the AU so far? In what's happening in the African continent? We do not see except statements, but no real actions on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, AU is just a form of unity in name. But the problems of Africa are much more than any organization to take care of. Mm-hmm. And foreign interference is more than any power owned by AU or any other organization. You see what I mean? So whatever they do, the foreign intervention in Africa is much, much stronger.
Sir, but of course the international community will suffer if the Middle East or Africa are suffering from their problems, because they are now complaining of the illegal migration through the sea from everywhere, from Syria, from Libya, from Yemen, and even from Afghanistan over there. So the international community are also suffering. So why they are backing the fall of the Middle East?
I think the policy was to create a Middle East that is submissive to the Western powers and to Israel. Mm-hmm. And this, is, to their mind, is more important than anything else. As to the immigrants, they can close the borders, and they do that. And they don't care for our immigrants, really. So they don't put it in mind as a real and major issue. So the plan is to divide the Middle East. The plan is to give a chance to Iran and Turkey to control a bit more than they are doing now. And they think they are our godfathers who have to decide for us how to live, the form of living, and to what hopes we can look forward for. I think this is a very bad attitude. The Middle East people have changed it, and they won't let this happen.
They are changed because of the Arab Spring, or changed because of what?
The change is not because of that. The Arab Spring was the tool to do it. It is not going to change anything. The plan is to divide the countries into factions according to religion, according to beliefs, according to race, according to whatever cause of division. This happened in Sudan. It's happening in Iraq. It's going to happen in Syria. It was supposed to happen in Egypt. It is going to happen in Libya, and so on. And with this, multiple or many small countries that have no power will be very ready to submit to whatever comes from the West or from Israel, or from the two local powers to regional powers, Turkey and Iran.
And back to Libya, should we consider Libya now is a failed state or on the verge of being a failed state?
Well, it is a failed state for sure, unless things differently happen, unless there is some sort of solidification of unity of the people, and stoppage of terrorism and organizations like Daesh and the other thing, and then unification of the people towards one aim, to have a state, to have a country, and with known borders, with protected land, and to live in it as countrymen who believe in their country. I don't think otherwise anything would be good.
And do you believe that this is going to happen soon?
Optimistically, I hope so. On the face of things, it's going to take a long time or may not happen at all.
Mm-hmm. But sir, speaking one more time about Daesh, as I said, Europe are suffering from the illegal migration. They are also suffering from Daesh because it makes attacks here and there in Paris and in Brussels and so on. So also they are suffering.
They are, well, you know, the West Europe is suffering sometimes, but the United States is not suffering. They haven't suffered. And Daesh is a US tool, as I believe.
But in Syria there is an international war, not only the US.
It is a local war, a national war, and an international fight for who is the boss, who is going to control things, who is going to say the final word. And the mere presence of Russia and the United States in Syria is making it a sort of an international world war, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Cold or hot, that remains to be seen.
So far you are not optimistic?
No, not on the face of things.
Yeah.
Not on the face of things.
Well, Mr. Helmi El Hadidi, President of the APS organization, thank you very much for joining us and welcome once again to Africa.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, this brings us to the end of our episode. I'm Dina Mamdouh. Thank you for watching.